Go. You ain't going anywhere till I tell you. Get in that car.
You mean I'm under arrest?
What do you think?
On what charges are you holding?
You heard what I said. Get in that car.
One of the things that made American films so exportable is that anyone, anywhere could identify with so many of the themes of American movies. One of which was the idea of the outsider, which was a Jewish theme. Jews being outsiders, making films about outsiders. You see this even in monster pictures. I mean, King Kong. There's a film about, an outsider. And yet, it's the monster, if you want to call King Kong that, with whom the audience sympathizes.
In Hollywood, every outsider could be transformed into an insider. Even in appearance, Carl Laemmle was an outsider. He resembled an elf. Not surprisingly, Universal's films often championed marginal beings who were persecuted like the Jews of Europe. At Warner Brothers, the Jewish sensibility expressed itself by an identification with the little guy. The prize fighters and the losers, the loners and the gangsters. At Harry Cohn's Columbia, the emphasis was not on the outsider, but on the common man. Here, the street-smart Clark Gable lectures the upper classes, represented by Claudette Colbert.
You're in a jam, and all you can think of is your money. It never fails, does it? Ever hear of the word humility? No, you wouldn't. I guess it never occurred to you to just say, "Please, mister, I'm in trouble. Will you help me?" No, that'd bring you down off your high horse for a minute. Well, let me tell you something. Maybe it'll take a load off your mind. You don't have to worry about me. I'm not interested in your money or your problem. You, King Wesley, your father, you're all a lot of hooey to me.
Zucker's Paramount didn't put down the rich. Instead, the studio whisked audiences into a once inaccessible universe of sophistication and luxury. When it came to class for the masses, nobody outdid Louis B. Mayer's MGM. Everything glittered with quality and style, reflecting the vision of the man at the helm.
Mr. Mayer was very persuasive. It's about the only word I could use. And so he'd stand there and he'd watch what was going on and he'd say, "No, just wait a minute, stop that," he said. "That's not the way to do it. I'll show you how it should be done." And he'd really go through the scene very well. It was everybody, and they never knew when he was going to walk in on them. They were very leery of him, the directors, because they never knew when Louis was going to walk down there and say, "No, that's not the way I want it." See, he was a perfectionist. He knew what he wanted, and money was no object. At Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer, price meant nothing. It was to be the best.
In creating the great movie musical, Hollywood adapted the Broadway musical, an original American art form almost wholly created by fellow immigrant Jews. The music and lyrics were often based on classic stories, reinterpreted from a Jewish perspective.
Almost all of the writing pairs that have come to epitomize Broadway have been Jewish, whether it's Lerner and Loewe and Rodgers and Hammerstein, Jerome Kern. Almost all of them have been Jewish, with the exception, I think, of Cole Porter, really, here. And if you look at their plays, none of them, with the exception of Fiddler on the Roof, are about overtly Jewish themes, but all of them are about overtly Jewish concerns. So take a play like My Fair Lady. That's really about fitting in.
Again.
The rain in Spain stays mainly in the plain.
I think she's got it. I think she's got it.
The rain in Spain stays mainly in the plain.
By George, she's got it. By George, she's got it. Now once again, where does it rain?
On the plain.
She's an immigrant into that culture, that upper middle class culture. She needs to learn how to talk, something immigrants are very concerned with. She needs to know how to dress. She needs to know the codes and conventions of society.
Bravo!
Irving Berlin did more than any composer to Americanize Jewish aspirations.
Someday I'm going to murder the bugler. Someday they're going to find him dead.
To understand Berlin is to understand the Hollywood moguls. Another cantor's son, he started life in the midst of pogroms.
My life in bed. Oh, how I hate to get up in the morning. Oh, how I love to remain in bed.
Berlin was a Russian immigrant who would go on to write the quintessential American songs. He's a kind of Cyrano de Bergerac. In the foreground is Fred Astaire, the embodiment of American aristocracy, full of grace and upperclassmanship.
Because I'm invited to step out this evening in top hat, white tie, and tails. Oh, I'm putting on my top hat, tying up my white tie, brushing off my tails. I'm duding up my shirt front, putting in the shirt studs, polishing my nails. I'm stepping out, my dear, to breathe an atmosphere that simply reeks with class. And I trust that you'll excuse my dust when I step on the gas.
In the background, the person writing the music and the lyrics is this little Jewish guy. For over 60 years, he tried to reinvent himself. In the process, he infused life into a whole new American ideal.
In the White House, President Eisenhower signs a bill authorizing a gold medal for composer Irving Berlin. It honors him for writing God Bless America and other patriotic songs. For Irving Berlin, this marks another milestone in his rise from humble beginnings to a place of highest esteem the world over.
I don't know if anything could possibly have happened that touches me as deeply as this medal. God Bless America isn't just a song that I wrote, but it expresses my gratitude for the opportunities and the freedom to write that song and to the country that inspired it. Thank you very much.
Along with the unofficial anthem of the United States, Irving Berlin wrote the American classics Easter Parade and that most Jewish of Yuletide fantasies, White Christmas.
I'm dreaming of a white Christmas with every Christmas card I write. May your days be merry and bright, and may all your Christmases be white.
Louis B. Mayer not only celebrated Christmas, he appropriated America's birthday as his own. Mayer claimed that he couldn't remember his real birthday, so he celebrated it on the 4th of July.
When I think of Grandpa, I think of these amazing events that were held every year that I was privileged to attend. Patriotism was an important theme in his life, and so he selected Independence Day as his birthday. And in the studio commissary, every star under contract was not only invited, but virtually obliged to show up. And these extraordinary events, which, as I began to become educated and read about European royalty, seemed to me, in retrospect, more and more like events held by heads of state. he wrapped himself in the American flag and said, "That's me."
I'm a Yankee Doodle dandy, Yankee Doodle do or die. A real live nephew of my Uncle Sam, born on the 4th of July. I've got a Yankee Doodle sweetheart, she's my Yankee Doodle joy. Yankee Doodle came to London just to ride the ponies. I am that Yankee Doodle boy. He's a Yankee Doodle dandy, a Yankee Doodle do or die.
In Hollywood, they joked that the Moguls went from Poland to polo in just one generation. They held Easter egg hunts and Christmas parties. Some of them sent their children to Catholic schools. Their efforts to reinvent themselves seemed boundless. They even hid their Jewishness from their children and grandchildren.
I didn't know I was Jewish till I was at least 7, I think. I remember we were in Scarsdale, and I was going to public school, and my mother said, "In case somebody asks you what your religion is, you're Jewish." And I said, "Okay," you know. I mean, I don't think I even asked, "Well, what's that?" You know.
I was brought up by Catholic governesses who took me to the Catholic churches, and I learned prayers in French, and I wore a cross.
And did you become Catholic?
No, it's just that I didn't know anything about the Jewish religion. I didn't know what it was.
I realized that my father had never told me anecdotes about the old country, that I didn't even know what his real name was. I didn't know the little village that he came from. I knew nothing about his life. And I realized that the name Warner was probably not correct, but I thought being Polish it might have been Werner. To this day, I really don't know what our original name was.
Often the first thing to go was the Jewish name. The Hollywood Jews were obsessed with erasing anything Jewish in their films, their lives, and the lives of their stars.
Do you know what her name is? Esther Victoria Blodgett.
Hey, we'll have to do something about that right away. Let's see, Esther Victoria, Vicky. How about Vicky?
Oh, I think that's terribly cute.
Let's see, Vicky. Vicky what?
Vicky, pronounced Vicky.
See, Esther, Hester, Dester, Lester. Vicky Lester.
Oh, I like that.
Say it.
Vicky Lester.
Say it again.
Vicky Lester.
Say it again.
Vicky Lester.
Say it.
Vicky Lester.
Say Vicky Lester.
Vicky Lester.
Vicky Lester.
Vicky Lester.
Vicky Lester.
Theodosia Goodman became Theda Bara. Sofia Kosso became Sylvia Sidney. Isser Danielovich Dembski became Kirk Douglas. Leo Jacobi became Lee J. Cobb. Shirley Shrift became Shelley Winters. Bernard Schwartz became Tony Curtis. David Kaminsky became Danny Kaye. Edward Iskovitz became Eddie Cantor. Melvin Hesselberg became Melvin Douglas. Muni Wiesenfreund, a star of the Yiddish Theater, became Paul Muni. Emanuel Goldenberg became Edward G. Robinson. The G was a reminder of who he really was.